Great to have you back for a third time.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to be back.
What can we say other than just a fantastic weekend of wrestling, an emotional roller coaster, ups and downs? There's a couple big topics we'll talk through, but let's just get started with some of your initial thoughts on the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of said on Twitter, I don't think there's anything like the Olympic team trials, just from just the raw emotion, and I think the feeling of being on both sides, like just watching people ecstatic to make their dream or part of their dream come true. Of course, they all want to win medals, win a gold medal, and then other people not make it, because I think anybody who's been in sports and wrestling for any length of time has felt both. And so, like I said, the Burkert and Maroulis series was pretty incredible, and several others as well. So yeah, it was great. The wrestling was great. I think there's some improvements that could be made, but from a pure like wrestling standpoint and how the sport's improved with the new leadership since Fila went out, and just the excitement that the matches are bring, I think it's probably at an all-time high.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible how good the rules are now, and there's a couple of matches we'll talk about and some other things such as the viewership experience. But before we get to that, I took my cousin with me, and it was his first wrestling event ever. Knew nothing about the sport, and he was filming with me during the week prior. After Friday night's round, he was like, "Dude, this is the best thing I've ever seen live," and it was really easy for him to pick up, because he had watched high school wrestling before, because his brother wrestled, but. And that's when it kind of hit me. I'm like, man, maybe freestyle is the way to go. Because he's like, yeah, it's pretty easy. You push the guy out, you take him down, you turn him. It's really, really simple. And so, yeah, the rules are really in a good spot.
Yeah, I think they made a lot of improvements. And don't get me wrong, there's always, in a subjective sport where you're not doing swimming or track and field, where it's just completely objective, racing against the clock, you're always going to have some, you're always going to have some questions. I know some people had questions on the passive calls, which, again, I never quite totally understand, but you just know that's part of the sport, that, hey, if you don't score at all, you may get one and they may get one, and theirs may be last and you may lose. So I think people have kind of come to grips with that, even though it's frustrating. But yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think too, and I've had people that have gone to NCAAs as well. There's something about like the electricity, just the atmosphere and the environment. Like I've had other people say that too. They've never seen wrestling. Like, this is the best thing I've ever been to. And I don't think it's 100% the wrestling. I think it's just that, like I said, that electric atmosphere that you can't explain unless you've been there.
Yeah, it all got started with Zahid and Bo Nickel. That was like the first match of the night that people were going crazy with. And it was the first time we had been in arenas with people, and I kind of forgot that too. It was like, man, and the arena was beautiful for folks who haven't been there. So there's a couple performances we have to talk about. We'll start with Kyle Dake. I mean, when it got started with him Friday night, taking on Wick, and then Nulf. I mean, good God, you think he's wrestling as best as he ever has?
Yeah, I mean, believe me, I think. And I could be wrong again. This is just my viewership and wrestling experience, but I think Burroughs had more of a game plan for him than Dake had for Burroughs. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was some check down things that he did to keep Burroughs off balance with his open shots, but dude, I swear, Dake is probably the best athlete in the last 30 years that I've seen wrestle. The guy is just an absolute freak. He just does stuff that you just cannot. Man, he's given up 0 points, right? I mean, I guess he gave up 2 in the last match to Burroughs, but like, when's the last time the guy gave up a takedown, like, or an exposure? It's like insane. You can't score on him. He's unbelievable. But that said, Burroughs has been able to not just like hold down the weight, but I think the thing that impressed me the most with Burroughs was when, and I mean this with all due respect, but time catches up to all of us. Burroughs was an explosive animal when he was younger, in his younger days of his career, and then he lost that a little bit. And I think if he was being honest, he would admit that he's not the same explosive athlete that he was in his early 20s. But he was able to reinvent himself, and like, he changed his style, subtly to still be the best in the world, which is absolutely incredible. I mean, only the best of the best can do that, right? You kind of have your thing, and when it's gone, it's gone. And he did it. And so I knew that, like, man, Burroughs could still do that. He's going to have like a total game plan here. and he has a way he thinks he can beat Dake, and he's done it so many times. It was like, is he going to be able to do it? But that was just such a great series. I don't care if the matches were not super exciting. I mean, just what was riding on that is like unreal, and just watching the passing of a torch for as long as he's carried it, pretty cool. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, it was just every second you were on the edge of your seat, and I didn't even really notice that maybe they weren't that action packed, because in the arena it felt like it was just going. I mean, Burroughs was in a couple times. Jake had maybe a chest lock or two. You just didn't know what was going to happen, and this is why I started to appreciate the push out. Because of that, you're always on edge. You can't just go out, So
Yeah.
I really like that, and everything is just the stakes are so high with those rule sets. And man, Dake, one of Dake's training partners, said this to me, and it sticks. Dake is always like a foot away from you, and you can't get there no matter what you do. He's just so elusive.
Yeah, no, and you can't shoot on him traditionally. I mean, you have to have incredibly explosive shots and finishes, because if he gets you, I mean, you saw Burroughs, he was like full plank. He was like in a full plank to not get lifted and thrown, and he's still almost lifting him. I mean, that's how incredibly strong and powerful that guy is. But yeah, I mean, not to get off topic on the whole folk style freestyle thing, but like, I always see these comments about how I don't want it to be sumo, but yet when you watch the best in the world, these guys are the best in the world. They're both world champs, multiple time. This is the definition of the best in the world, and they can't push each other out.
Yeah.
So is it really sumo, or is it really like, hey, you gotta control, and like you said, you're on edge. But it's a great feeling. I know it's a great match when I'm like nervous and I don't even know either guy personally.
Yeah.
You're just like nervous for like what's gonna happen. It reminded me of when Dake and Taylor wrestled, or any like big anticipated matchup where you're gonna remember this, and you just want to see how it goes.
Yeah, it had that feeling, and unfortunately, that feeling was stolen from us from another epic matchup. Two guys that are maybe more in their prime than Dake JV. I mean, where were you the second you heard Jaden Cox was out of the tournament?
I think Twitter, logging in and getting ready for the day, and yeah, no, I mean, that was wild. I mean, that was when everybody, I think those two matchups, because of the world champ, Olympic champ, I think were what people were looking forward to. So definitely disappointing. And Jaden Cox seems like just an incredible human being in all aspects. And so, I know everybody roots for him, as a person. And so that it was just a rough situation.
Do you think there's any chance we see a wrestle off, or is the Olympian set at that weight?
Do I think there should be, or do I think there's a chance?
Both.
So no, I personally, listen, so here's my thing. There's guys that are really comfortable with like always kind of being up to the line. And I know Jaden probably doesn't lose a lot of weight. I would guess it's 213, and he's wrestled 86 in the past, or 86 kilos, that is. So, but I mean, man, we would show up an hour before weigh-ins. And if you weren't on weight like 45 minutes before the weigh-ins, like I was just like sweating bullets. You're just like nervous. And of course I never missed weight. I was probably a warrior. And, for him to like even show up that close, even if he's going to be, he's over. Like he probably knew he was going to be a little over, but everyone knows Jaden's legendary sweating capabilities, which, are pretty much unmatched on the planet. So he probably could lose 5 pounds in 5 minutes, it seems like. But just showing up that close is just crazy. It was just a bad situation. So anyway, do I think he should? No, you kind of got to have a cutoff, and you got to have rules. Maybe that was the wrong time to have a cutoff 2 hours before, but I'm sure it flows from international rules, but you got to have a cutoff, and everybody's kind of got to stick to it. And from a timeline I've read, it's, again, nobody disqualified Jaden Cox because, he was running to the scale as the clock was ticking 8 o'clock. It was like, he's 15 minutes past the weigh-in time, which I know doesn't seem like a big deal, but again, it's just kind of a Pandora's box. You open it, and then, so where does it stop? Is it 15? Is it 20, 25? So I'm not against the guy personally. I think he's awesome, and he might have been our best guy, but it's just unfortunate. But that said, athletes, if you look back to the history, athletes have a lot of power in arbitration, a lot. And in fact, I can't think of one that's lost, put it that way. So maybe this will be the first one, but I mean, you could go back in the Greco days. I mean, you had the Maribel situation with Green, and there's been all kinds of these situations, and they always seem to get the, get this go ahead from the arbitrator, from the lawyers. So guess we'll kind of see what happens.
If that happens, do you think they re-wrestle the semis, the finals, and then the finals again? Or do you see just go straight to Snyder?
I don't know. I would think they would go straight to Snyder just based on, their credentials. Again, I'm not saying what I think is right versus what I think might happen. But I mean, I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised. When's the Olympics, the actual Olympic Games? June?
The third week of July.
Third week of July. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised if they're wrestling off in late May, early June. Like this has happened before, and I don't think it would be right, but that's what the potential is.
Rumor on the streets at the arena was that Jaden's coach had the weigh-in time confused from 7 to 8 to 8 to 9, and so he showed up at 7:45 thinking he had hour 15 to lose the pound or half pound, whatever it was, and obviously he didn't, and so. It's like, that's really the case. That's almost unbelievable as well, considering Kevin Jackson works for USA Wrestling. I mean, it's just hard to imagine any scenario where, it's just tough to say. And I'm with you. I think there's got to be a cutoff. I also think USA Wrestling has allowed guys to weigh in late before. One of them took place in Jordan Burroughs' documentary when the trials were in Lincoln, Nebraska. So I think he weighed in late there. So I don't know. It's really tough to say. I'm with you, though. Arbitrations, I mean, starting back to 84, when they allowed Randy Lewis to re-wrestle and vacated several matches on Leroy Smith's behalf, it's always happened. So we'll it wouldn't surprise me. And I just can't imagine not knowing the weigh-in time. And I know it's an easy thing to say when you're not in that situation, but God, like the only thing that matters is the weigh-in time, because that gets you to the competition, right? Weigh-ins, then the competition. That's all that matters. And even more so, again, nothing personal, but for Kevin Jackson, way worse, because Jaden has to think about wrestling. Like if you're the coach, like that's your job. Like, I mean, I'm a coach. Our team has never got to weigh-ins late. Like, and I know a lot of coaches whose team has never got. I mean, that's your job. That's what you're there to do. If you're not doing that, what are you doing? So I know he feels bad about it. Like I said, I'm not trying to rub salt in a wound, but that, I mean, he's one of our best guys in the country, and now he doesn't get to wrestle. So, or at least for now. Yeah, for now. Well, we'll see what transpires there. I'm sure we'll hear some kind of announcement from USA Wrestling. They've been pretty quiet so far, but we'll see. On a brighter spot, Gable Steveson is looking phenomenal right now. The guy can do a backflip. I mean, did you expect him to dominate to that level?
No. I mean, I thought he was going to be the guy, just by watching him wrestle at the college level. Like, I know it's not the college level, but also watched him in the RTC Cup. And, I mean, he's incredible. He's truly, an incredible athlete and a student of the game as far as his technical work is phenomenal as well. But man, I can't wait to watch him wrestle those two guys overseas. And there'll be other guys too, but those guys are just like, they've been it for years.
Yeah, since 2014, I think, they have owned every gold medal at that weight class. But man, I know, call me a homer here, but it's just tough to imagine seeing him being in a match where he's challenged. I mean, he hasn't been challenged in a long time. I mean, not even this weekend, which is crazy because Wiz is so good.
No, but have you seen Petrashvili wrestle though?
I need to go back and watch some film.
Okay, so he's 265 pounds and he wears guys out by shooting. It's unreal. I've never seen anything like it. Like he just, when he was younger, he would just shoot and shoot and shoot. And I'm not kidding. Like literally the other guy would start getting tired and he has probably made 20 shots in a 6-minute match. It's insane. I mean, I posted his match with Agul was like the best heavyweight match I've ever seen, but he does that all the time. He's just gotten better as a wrestler and more mature. But like when he was younger, when he was 18, 19, it was just like shoot. Just remember watching him in Vegas. And what was that? Was that 15 in 15. Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we watched him and we're like, dude, this guy does not stop shooting. He's 260 pounds and he just keeps diving underneath them. And finally you're thinking he's going to get tired, but he doesn't. The other guy gets tired, and then he was losing 9-0 in one match then, and I think he won like 18-9 or something. It was just he's incredible. So, and then Ghoul is very, very technical and a stud as well. So I just laugh because the people see Gable, and Gable's phenomenal. I think he really has a chance for the gold medal. He's that good. But like I said, international heavyweights are not the same as all of, as our heavyweights, because they're big guys. They play soccer and they wrestle. And if you're 265 pounds, you might not be a soccer player. So you're a wrestler. They don't have football. They're not, they're not playing these bigger guy sports. So that's what they do.
I got to go back and watch that match. You just tweeted it, you said?
Yeah. 2017, Ghoul and Petrashvili was absolutely insane.
Okay.
And just phenomenal. I mean, from an action perspective, from a scoring perspective, and then if you've been around wrestling, this is not what heavyweight wrestling looks like. And it was incredible.
That's how I feel when I watch Gable. I'm like, God, he moves like that. I just can't even. I can't.
Yeah, and Gable isn't the go, but like he's so good at picking his opportunities. I mean, I can't think of 5 times I've seen Gable make an attack and not score. Mm-hmm. Like when he goes, he scores. Yeah. And he's so good at finishing quickly and like I said, picking good attacks, that it's one way he dominates in freestyle, because he doesn't put himself at risk, and when he does, he scores.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll see him versus either of those guys before the Olympics at like a tune-up tournament.
I don't know. I would doubt that they give him an opportunity to see him, mm-hmm. Because typically when you're younger, you have the advantage of seeing the older guy. You know what I mean? Like, you're the one that has something to learn. Like, I always picture like the international guys always have some good tricks that they don't pull out unless they need. And then that's, it only takes one, right? So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if he can beat them straight up with their, with their old man experience. They're not old, but you know what I mean? They've been around for a while.
Man, it's going to be awesome. And then there's a couple of the matches I wanted to hit on, but for you, were there any performances outside of the finals or any matches that you're just still thinking about on Monday?
Man, God, it's hard to even think about like all the matches.
Did you watch Bo Nichols-Zahid?
Yeah, I did. I mean, and that's kind of Bo, I mean, it looks like he's getting taken down to lose the match, and he chin whips him. That's totally Bo. But what's crazy? It shows the levels to this, because I mean, Bo, we know how good he is, and the same with Nolf, right? Nolf and Bo were like basically could have been co-Hodge winners, like dominated everyone so easy, and neither of them were even a sniff against Dake and Taylor, who at the same time have been beat by Burroughs. I mean, it's just levels, right? And those guys are so good. And somebody would watch Nolf and thought how great he was. I showed him that quick match with Dake, and I'm like, see how this works? Like, there's different levels to this game, but no, nothing in particular. There was a lot of little instances. I know somebody commented on the Rao thing in the finals, and I mean, I'll be honest though, I'm not as familiar with the Greco rules. I mean, I know the rules of Greco, but not the nuance of. But one thing I'll say this though, I hope, and I'm not sure that we're doing it always, I think we have to officiate like they're going to call it internationally. And I don't know. I think that was kind of people's gripe in that Rao match, that, hey, internationally, they'll let you pinch their head off. If it falls off, too bad. And the referee stops it for him choking him. And yeah, maybe he was choking him. It looked like he was. But if they'll let you do that at the Olympic level, then why would we be stopping that? Like, if they let you do it, it's good. And that's where, same thing with some of the passive calls. Hey, we got to call the passive thing just like they call it internationally. Even if it looks stupid or it doesn't make sense, like, if somebody gets hit after 30 seconds, I don't care if they made 17 shots, then somebody gets hit after 30 seconds. Like, you got to do it consistently, because that's one of the things that's hurt us over the years, is we have this sort of Americanized version of freestyle in our expectations, right? And the way we call it, because we're kind of got this folk style crossover a little bit. And then you get to the international level and people are like up in arms. Like, why would you call it? It's like, dude, they've been calling it this way. And I'm not talking about the cheating. I'm not talking about, some of the things that go on that, we're out of our control. I'm just talking about generally the way things are officiated. You got to call them the same if you want them to learn and understand and get the best guy there for those rules. So I think that was the Rao thing. I'm not 100% sure if that is legit internationally or not, but if it is, then he got ripped off, because I don't care if he's choking him. If they'll let you do it, then you got to let it go.
Yeah, that's when I'm going to interview Brian Medlin tomorrow for another podcast I host for the Illini wrestling team. And he was there, and he's very opinionated on this match. So, and I pretty much know what way he's going to swing, but I just want to know his logic behind it, because he's a pretty level-headed dude and knows Greco better than anyone.
Yeah.
So excited to talk to Medlin about that. The one thing I did want to ask you about, though, and there are a ton of girls matches that were really exciting. Victoria Anthony looked on fire coming through the tournament, and it just shows you how good Hildebrand is. I mean, pretty much rolled it. But we got to talk about Kennedy Blades for a second. 17 years old, and she does that to Forrest Molinari. I could not believe it.
Yeah, so I love the new girls coming through. So wrestling's been around longer, right? I mean, this is my opinion, but again, I watch, and I think sort of the old guard for girls, although they have been very successful, there's a little bit more of the style isn't as aggressive. They're not as good at attacking legs. You see a little bit more defense and short offense and pushing people out of bounds. They know the game, right? They know how to get a 2-on-1. They know how to play the game. But like the new style of girls coming through has grown up with wrestling. I mean, and they wrestle. Like, I mean, they can attack legs like the boys and aren't afraid to do it. You know what I mean? And that's where I thought Kennedy Blades, she has a great body for wrestling. Great single leg attacks. Said she's 17, but she did really, really well. I mean, obviously, Mensa Stock was a little bit too much but I mean, she's a world champ. You're talking about a 17-year-old versus a world champ. So, but I liked a lot of the younger girls, and in just what they brought. That hey, they've learned the sport at a younger age, and I think are more advanced technically and just more developed wrestlers. Now they may not be ready to take the reins from the older girls yet, but it just makes the wrestling so much more exciting, and there's so much more to it. And the women's game has come so far. It's enjoyable to watch. I really enjoy watching it now.
It's awesome to watch, and sometimes there's more action in some of these matches. But yeah, the development of the female team, knowing that they've wrestled freestyle their whole lives. Like, that's what's cool about it, is that, I mean, they're just really masters at freestyle, and it shows. I mean, Kennedy Blades' leverage is unbelievable. She's going to win several world titles before it's done. Adeline Gray didn't push Mensa Stock to that level, in my opinion, in that match they wrestled in Flow. And so, and Adeline's the best we have. So it just shows you how good some of these young girls are. It's amazing. Yeah,
it is. It's really fun to watch. And like I said, one of the things is, like, when I found out, I only had 2 mats going, because that's where most of the matches were for the finals. And I found out Helen was going on mat 4, and that was truth. I saw it, and I'm like, I gotta load this up. Like, I like watching her.
Yeah.
Because I mean, she does some great technical things, and it's fun to watch. And then, thank God I did, because that was the first match, I think, and that ended up being probably, outside of course Burroughs Dake was great, because but that was one of the best series of the entire thing, the Burkert and Maroulis. So got to watch it, and got to watch all 3 matches, because it was wild. I mean, I thought, I didn't know where they stood against each other, and I know how good Maroulis is, so I thought, okay, she'll probably beat her fairly easy. And then you watch the first one, second one, you're like, oh my gosh, this is legit. Like, this girl can wrestle.
Yeah, and then that foot sweep. I mean, Helen is so good under pressure, and God, your heart goes out to Jenna Rose-Burkert. That was super emotional, and it was tough to watch, because you felt her pain. But I mean, what a series! And I mean, Helen going to go back, and our women's team is stacked right now. Adeline, Tamara, Helen. I mean, those 3 could win. And Sarah Hildebrandt, huge confidence in her and the whole team. Let's wind down with this one. I cannot understand, and I will not understand, the chosen match order for these sessions. How did they come up with it, in your opinion? What was happening?
I mean, I know they're very sensitive toward the whole, listen, everybody knows men's freestyle is the most popular. It's not, I mean, everybody would admit that, including the Greco and the women's freestyle. Everyone knows that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you're trying to showcase all of them, which I understand because they all are, going for the Olympic spot, which is by definition, the men's basketball player who may be the NBA's best player is equally as important as, the wrestler who makes a team. So I get that. But there's a level where you're going too far and you're making it confusing for fans. And that's my issue. It's not that there shouldn't be, a showcase of all of the styles, but if fans can't follow it, like that, you can't grow the sport that way. That's why the NCAAs, people watch it because it's so fun and it's so, like I said, they hold the quarters and they hold the semis and which mats they're on. Everybody's got their 2-mat thing set up, you know what I mean, or the 4-mat thing, and that's part of the marketing and the building of the excitement that we need for the sport. And then you do the Olympic team trials, which is great for the people in the venue, but by the way, that's a small number relative to the people that are actually watching it. And it just doesn't feel like as important as it should, and I don't know what the answer is as far as running styles on a single mat or at least holding the semis or getting another mat involved. I don't know, but it can't feel like I don't want to say local freestyle tournament because I don't want to exaggerate, but it just feels too grab bag. Like where you don't know which mats, which styles are on in which order. Like the finals was crazy. Like it's not in any.
Burroughs was the second match.
Yeah, and it's not in any order, by the way. No order. Like it's not like heavy and then we go to the top and back around. It's not like start in the middle. It's not like a certain styles on one mat. Like everything is mixed. And of course we're diehards, right? So we're sitting there and we got different mats loaded up, but you can't. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's the way to, to promote the sport going forward. And I get that they had TV rights and that part's good. And I know they're trying to keep the matches for TV on the same mat, but man, it just feels like I said, when you think NCAAs and the level that's done at, and then you think world team trials or Olympic team trials and Olympic team, I mean, we watched it, right? NCAAs is not nearly as good at wrestling. The guys that are winning the NCAAs just got pounded by and large, except for Gable, who's a freak. So the wrestling's better here, but it feels more important, and it feels like a better production at the college ranks. So I know they're trying to do more, but like I said, I'm all for all styles, but at the same time, there's got to be some ability for people to focus in on what they want to watch. And I'm glad that all of them are there, and I'm glad I got to watch some of those girl series because they were great, and some of the Greco too. But there's got to be a better way than that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree at all that I think they should integrate men's freestyle and Greco, but at least keep it from like a weight order, like lightest to heaviest. Who cares if it's all going at the same time? But you don't even know that, and it was wild to be a part of. And thank God they had at the arena, they had like who was on deck and who was in the hole, but it just seemed like there was no rhyme or reason to it. And at first I'm thinking, is this NBC's doing? Or I don't know if it's USA Wrestling. They do a great job. I just don't understand the logic behind it. But like you said, let's keep, some people were saying they should have separate sessions for Greco and separate for women's. And I don't think that's the answer, but some kind of order would be nice.
Well, like why not with 3 mats, if you're going to do the semis with 3 mats, like keep the same style on each mat. I mean, there's only 6 weight classes.
Right.
This is not a world team trials where there's 10 weight classes.
Right.
There's only 6. So, is it really too much? Is it too much wrestling? I think people wanted to watch. I mean, I know one time I was bummed because there was a 274s, I think, and a 65 going at once for the men's freestyle. And by the way, I've got all the mats open. So they're all going. It's not that you're not, you're tuning out on the other ones, but man, it's like, you tune in to watch and then you kind of get ripped off as far as you can't watch them all.
Agreed. And hopefully, that's the good thing about having the world team trials next. Flo does a really good job. And I like to remind people that rag on Flo, this past weekend is what it was like before Flo. You'd get a random match here. You get a random dual meet. Flo, by and large, does a fantastic job. Big Ten Network is doing a great job as well. So last question for you, Mr. Tirapelle. What's your over under on Team USA's medal count this summer? What are you thinking?
Man, I think we got one of our better teams. You know, there's only 6 weights though, so that means the other teams are going to be better too. I'm gonna go over under. I'm gonna go 3.5.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that we get, you know, 4 or 5. That would be outstanding. But I mean, you know how the draw and one match, one call can affect it at that level. So I mean, I think we have some, you know, some great guys. Obviously 65 is our, you know, nothing against Jordan Oliver, because the weight's not qualified, is our weakest spot right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully he has a chance to qualify the weight. He's got Kingshashvili. Hopefully he doesn't get on his side, which would be, you know, would be tough because you got to get first or second. But if he qualifies the weight, I mean, he wrestled really well this weekend, and he's got an opportunity. And obviously, the rest of the guys are all medalists and placers. So, but 3.5, I think, would probably be fair. And I hope we get more.
Amen. I was gonna say 3, so we're right there. Yeah, I think all eyes turn to Bulgaria. I'm really pulling for our Greco guys as well. Adam Kuhn, I hope he gets it done. And Jo, man, bring it home for us, baby, because it would be a crushing blow not to have all 6 guys in the Olympic team. And that is just a terrible thing to see for a country that's as highly touted as we are in the world. So hopefully we get that done, and Olympics will be here before we know it.
Yeah, well, everybody, you know, in 65 was a lot of people, you know, for a lot of different guys, but now everybody, I think, is behind Jordan. I hope they are. You know, he's our guy, and, you know, I know he's been going for this for a long time, so everyone's supportive, and hopefully he goes and qualifies the spot and then, you know, gives himself an opportunity to win the medal he wants to win. Yeah,
I agree. That was a wild weight. That's a whole podcast in itself talking about that. And
yeah,
and Nick Lee and Zane and Yianni. It's just, man, there were some fantastic matches there. Joey McKenna looked awesome. But we'll wrap it up. Mr. Tirapelle, thank you for your time, sir.
Yeah, thanks, bud. Appreciate it.
Take care.